Every day may not be good, but there is something good in every day. Hi everyone, a very warm good afternoon. I am Suprabha. Universal Engineering College, Vallivattam, invites you to the international webinar series on future technologies, opportunities and challenges after COVID-19. Thank you all for joining us for today's webinar. Today, we are going to present the topic User Experience Design. The presenter of the topic, Mr. Anas K.A. He is user experience designer with 17 years of IT experience and the head of design at TCS Interactive designLAB, Kochi. He helps in designing digital products and services by ensuring a positive experience out of the interaction between technology and humans. Armed with a B.Tech in electronics and communication engineering in the year 2000. He began his career in electronics with Nest R&T Kochi and TATA ELXSI Trivandrum. On one fine morning in 2008, he resigned his job to pursue a master's in product design from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. After a brief stint in advertising, he joined TCS Kochi as its third UX designer in 2011. He has closely worked with the customers in US, UK, Australia, Middle East, and Asia Pacific to design mobile apps, web applications, and digital services. His experience also includes user research, design thinking, building and mentoring of design teams and students. Just a little housekeeping before we get started. If you have any questions during the presentation, please type them into the question box in your Zoom, or you have the option of raise hand in control panel for asking any doubts. And please remind that we will also have time for question at the end. Now we will turn the time to our respected principal, Dr. Jose K. Jacob. Sir, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sir.
Yeah. Good afternoon. Once again, welcome to Universal Engineering College. So today, our speaker is Mr. Anas. He's my friend also, and he has many years of experience in user interface design. You know, that's a different topic. So I hope definitely you'll get a clear idea about the opportunities in the field of user interface design. And I wish all success. Okay, Anas, we can proceed.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Joseph. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. It's actually a pleasure for me. I usually go to college campuses to interact with students. So this is my first time to see the screen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Suprabha. So hello all, welcome to User Experience Design. So today, I am here to talk about design, not about technology. Okay, so let us have some fun. So let us begin with talking about a movie. What you see on the screen. So don't worry, I'm not going to play any video. This is basically a still image. This particular user experience design, service design, web design, and all. So my experience is mainly in user experience design, service design, web, print, graphic design. So that is what I do for earning my daily bread. Okay, so now let us go back to the earlier example of drinking a juice, right? How can I improve the experience of drinking a juice. Of course, the temperature of the juice matters. The shape of the container matters a lot. And the way in which I'm consuming that one, right? That also matters. The ambient of the place where I'm sitting and consuming, that also matters. So user experience design or UX application for setting the alarm in the morning. And then most of the time, I actually go to a news application to read today's news. And also I will check my email. On some occasions, right, whenever I am getting my salary or probably whenever the loan EMIs are due, probably I will also see or I will also look at the banking application as well to understand how much money I have in my account and things like that. So these are all digital products. So these are designed by designers like me. So here, if you basically compare this a web page of a bank. So these designs, right? So web application, mobile application, we also have things known as augmented reality applications, virtual reality applications, game designs. All these actually try to deliver a very positive experience to the user. So let me just explain this particular one. So the experience evolution, all right. So we started with plain old telephone systems. We moved on to feature phones. We moved on to smartphones. Right now we are having wearables with us. And the last one, probably the future can be something like bionic implants. We will be able to just live with a lot of integrated chips, IC chips in our body. So this one basically shows the evolution of experience. So the other day, lot of memes were there in social media about the SpaceX Dragon going to the International Space Station. You might have seen these memes in many places. The first photo that you are seeing right now is the control panel in Apollo 11, 1969. This particular photo, the second photo, is from the space shuttle Atlantis in 1985. Probably you can see the differences, right? In Apollo, there are a lot of switches. In Atlantis, there are screens. And what about the latest SpaceX Crew Dragon spaceship? This is how it looks like, the third photo. You are basically having a touch interface. So the pilots are able to drive the vehicle using touch interface controls. So this also shows the evolution of experience. So right now, I am reading one interesting book, the name being user-friendly. This particular book basically talks about, or at least it starts by talking about the 3 Mile Island nuclear meltdown that actually happened and how the user interface played a lot of a crucial role in that particular accident. Okay, so let me talk about user experience design in a company. So what am I doing in my company, right? I mean, what is the day-to-day work that I do as a user experience design in my company? So a lot of projects actually come to us. So what triggers a project? When one of the customers of my company, they might actually hear a lot from their customers telling that, okay, you know what, we need this particular feature of paying money in your mobile application. So we need that feature. So that can be a trigger. So if that is the case, then that particular bank will come to us to design the application. Or it can be something like the competitor introduced a new feature, and then this particular bank has to catch. So at that point of time also, they will come to us asking like, you know what, our competitor started paying by sending an SMS. So can you help us to do the same thing in our application? Another thing is about a visionary leadership. A CTO of the company or a CEO of company might think like, you know what, we need to expand our existing user base to, let us say, 2 million customers in the next 2 years. So for that, probably we may have to improve our portfolio, product portfolio. So let us connect to designers to design the new digital products. The last trigger can be of a culture of innovation. Innovation in the sense like there are many companies that actually have an innovation team with them. So they will be always looking for opportunities and they are trying to prototype some of the ideas. And then they will come up with a viable idea and then that will be converted into a digital product. So these are the triggers of a particular digital product or project for us. Now, what are the different types of projects that we do? So there are a lot of projects that actually falls under redesign category. In the earlier example, let us say the bank decides that they want to improve the current mobile application. So they will probably come to us and we will be able to help them to design a better product, to improve the existing one. And of course, there is something known as new design projects, right? Where the customer really wants something. So they usually come to us and tell that, you know what, we need to build a mobile application for schools. So they are pretty much clear about their requirement and then we will help them to build that one. So that is the new design. The last type of project is known as exploratory designs. So in this particular case, the customer usually come to us and say like, you know what, we don't know the solution, but we have a problem. We would like to probably cut down the cost by 20%, or probably we would like to acquire 5% of new customers over the next 2 years. So can you help us in that? So in that particular case also, we user experience designers try to understand the details and we will try to address the pain area and then we will build a product for them. So that is how it is. So what is the process for design, let us say mobile application or a web application or let us say a game or whatever it is. So whatever we do, we are always trying to serve the end user. So the process is known as user-centered design or UCD. So basically there are 3 flows in that user-centered design process. The first one is understand, second one is explore, third one is materialize. So understand. Understand basically stands for understanding about the end user who will be using the application. It is also understanding about the problem statement. It is understanding about the pain areas of the user. So what is this exploration? The second flow. Exploration is nothing but it is the exploration for a viable solution. So how can we help this customer, this end user, to achieve their goals? So brainstorming and creation of ideas and prototyping, everything happens in this exploration stage. The last one is materialize. The last flow is materialize. Materialize is the flow where we'll be testing the concepts with the end users and we will try to build them with the help of the technology people. So there are 3 flows: understand, explore, and materialize. Under these 3 flows, there are 6 phases. Now we are talking a little bit theory here. Under understand, we have 2 phases, empathize and define. So what is this empathize? Empathize is basically thinking from the end user's perspective. What is this define? Define is nothing but defining the problem statement and defining the scope of the project. Under explore, we have ideate and prototype. So what is this ideate? Ideation is nothing but creation of a lot of ideas for the solution. Prototype is something like we'll be taking the top 3 ideas. We'll be trying to create a quick prototype to understand whether this is a viable solution. The third flow, materialize, basically has the test phase and implementation phase. What is this test phase? Test phase is nothing but it's basically testing our concepts with the users. So we'll be showing some drawings, we'll be showing some click-through prototypes with the users, and they will give us feedback. So based on their feedback, we'll be iterating the design. The last one, implementation, is nothing but we'll be taking the help of developers and other technology people to build the actual product. So these are the 6 phases of user-centered design. So is it a linear process? No. Actually, there are a lot of interconnections between them. So if you take a look at this particular slide, that basically shows that it's all interconnected. I can basically go to define after empathize, and then I can come back if more empathy is required with the end user. So similar case actually happens with the other 6 phases as well. So it is iterative and cyclic. UCD stands for user-centered design. If you take a look at your, let us say, college website, right? So this is basically a cartoon which I have seen from the XKCD, one of the famous comics online, right? If you take a look at a typical campus website, it will be having a slideshow, probably some alumni in the news, promotions for campus events, press releases, then a letter from the principal or president, virtual tour, right? I mean, these are some of the main staples of a college website. Things on the front page of a university or a college website. But for a typical user, right, who are the end users? It can be students, it can be prospective students, it can be parents of students. For them, what are the important stuff that needs to have there? It can be list of faculty's phone numbers and emails, the actual campus address, where there is a parking information is available there or not, then academic calendar, application forms, and how to apply for a particular department, where are the departments, and these kinds of stuff. So this is what the end users, in our case, students or prospective students or parents, look for. So since this is a Venn diagram, right? I mean, what is the intersection? The middle part, that is the full name of the school. So this basically shows the difference between the perception and the viewing angle from the actual end user. So we always need to think from the end user's perspective. The moment we are able to understand the perspective of an end user, that is when the user experience designs become the best designs available. Now let us take another example. Let us take the example of Layla. Layla would like to go for shopping with her friend, okay? So they are basically taking a car to, let us say, Mahatma Gandhi Road, MG Road here. And the problem here is something like, I mean, Layla is not finding any car parking space. So what actually happens is like, her friend will go out, she will go to a couple of shops to buy stuff, and Layla will basically sit inside the car, because if she leaves the car, then probably a traffic penalty might happen, since she is parking the car in a non-parking zone, right? So what is the problem statement here? The problem statement here is something like, how might we help Layla to find a parking space at MG Road when she goes there for shopping with her friend? So that is the problem statement. If this is the problem statement, then a lot of people will come up with a lot of solutions, right? People might say like, okay, we can build a mobile application that shows empty parking spaces nearby or paid parking spaces nearby, and the current traffic pattern, all those kinds of stuff. So if the problem statement is something like this, then people will always come up with a lot of solutions pertaining to the problem statement. But in our design process, there is something known as redefining the problem statement. So we have to always think, is this the real problem statement that we need to solve? Are there any other root causes for this particular problem? So that is known as reframing the problem statement. So this is the reframe part of it. If we are reframing the problem statement into something like this, how might we help Layla to do shopping with her friend at MG Road so that they enjoy the time together? So here the importance is basically given for the how they can enjoy their time together, right? So if this is the problem statement, then there are a lot of other potential solutions open up, right? Rather than taking the car, probably Leila and her friend can take a public transport system, right? Something like metro. So there is a metro station in Road. Probably they can go there together and then they can go for shopping. So there is no headache about finding a parking space for their car. So that is one angle. Another angle can be something like, I mean, foreign countries as well. Some of the shopping malls basically run a luxury bus on weekends. So these are all free trips. So the bus will usually ply between the shopping mall and some of the most populated areas where people have taken apartments or flats. So it's a free service. So people basically take the bus, go to the mall, buy a lot of stuff, and then they will come back. So that is also another opportunity here, right? That is also one of the solutions probably we can think about. What is the extreme solution that we can think about? It is something like probably shopping virtually, right? Sitting at home, probably the friend can come to Leila's home and they can use a mobile application to shop online. Or it can be something like they can use a virtual reality headset to shop, right? Virtually online. So these are some of the solutions. So here, what I would like to say is like, the moment we are getting a problem statement, always try to see whether the problem statement is the right one. If you can reframe it, always do that. Then, as I mentioned earlier, right, this user-centered design is always iterative and cyclic. When we are ideating for a solution, there can be 10 or 12 different types of solutions that might come to our mind. So how do we select 1, 2, or 3 from that? To select a particular solution, what we have to do is like we have to think, we have to see these solutions from 3 different lenses, just like our spectacle lenses, right? Just like our specs. We have to view the solutions through 3 lenses. So the first lens is known as viability lens or a business lens. So I will give you one example. Suppose that we are basically designing a particular application that enables a user to teleport to a remote place. Suppose that I want to travel from Kochi to Bangalore. There are a couple of traditional ways, right? Probably I can take a bus or probably take a train or probably fly. The shortest one is of course flying, but that will be most of the time, that will be the costliest one. I might reach Bangalore within a couple of hours. What if we are coming up with a solution of teleportation, right? I don't know how many of you are Harry Potter fans. So just like apparate, right? Apparition, we'll be able to just go from place A to place B in no time. If that is the solution, probably we can look at that solution through a business angle, viability point of view. Since a lot of people might opt for that kind of a service, teleportation from point A to B, probably we can charge a very good amount, right? And people also might be there who might take this particular service. So of course that is business viability is there. I'll be able to earn money by offering that service. So my product or my service of teleportation definitely will pass through this particular lens. It is viable. This is the second lens, that is the desirability part, the experience part. If I am offering a service, will people come and take it? Of course, yes, because the experience is the best one here, right? Because I am taking probably a couple of seconds to reach Bangalore from Kochi. So experience-wise, this is the best one. So my solution will definitely tick this particular box as well. So it is viable, it is desirable by the end users. And now we come to the third most important lens. That is the lens of technology. Is it feasible? You and I both know that, of course, this is not feasible at this point of time, right? Of course, teleportation is a very nice idea, but is it technologically possible? No. At this point of time, no. So my solution basically will fail at this particular lens of technology. So this is what we always do. This is how we always try to arrive at a solution. We always test each and every idea through these three lenses: the business lens, experience lens, and the technology lens. So since I am showing you a Venn diagram, right? I mean, this is a secret. Always show a lot of Venn diagrams and other graphs in your presentation, right? Since I am showing you a Venn diagram, what is the intersection of everything? So that is the middle part. That is the experience innovation, right? It's the intersection of business, experience, and technology. Experience innovation. That is what we always aim for. So as a designer, right? I mean, what are the different types of artifacts that I create every day, right? After these 6 phases of user-centered design, what are the different artifacts or deliverables or files that I create as a part of my day-to-day job? There are many, but I would like to show a couple of them here. So the first one is known as user persona. This one deals with the end user, the actual consumer, right? The user of a product or a service. So the demography, his, her goals, needs, wants, and fears. What are their specialties? What are their daily and their daily tasks? How are they interacting with a particular service or a product, right? All those things are captured in the user persona document. The next one is known as user journey map. This one just shows the touch points of a user. It shows their mental state, how they feel, what they feel, things like that, when they are trying to go through a particular experience. So one example I can tell you, suppose that I want to take a new DTH connection, right, for my TV. So probably I might go to a website. I might probably call one of the customer care center. Then they might give me another local contact. Then probably I will go to that particular shop and then I will pay the money. I will submit my documents and then probably I will get a technician who will come to my home to install the DTH, right? So that is the usual process. So these are the touch points in my case. The touch points are a website first, and then a telephone, a customer service executive, and then a physical shop, then a technician who comes to my house, right? I mean, these are all touch points for a user. And then what are the things that I feel, right? It can be something like, I mean, I might feel anxious, I might feel angry because they might not come on time and all those kinds of stuff. So all these emotions of the customer usually are trapped in this particular document known as user journey map. This actually helps us to understand the pain areas and the possible opportunities. So just before building a house, right, we all draw a plan, right? So this one is known as information architecture for a mobile application or a web application. So this is basically a plan. So what will be the first screen a user will come to? In that screen, if he clicks on a particular button, where will he navigate to, right? All those user flows are depicted in the information architecture. And you will be seeing that, I mean, there are different types of architecture available as linear architecture is there, cyclic architecture is there, tree structure is there. So all these architecture basically determine the user experience of the application, the mobile application or a web application. So this one is similar to the sitemap that we generally see in web applications. So what you see on the screens is known as wireframes. So we spend a lot of time drawing this one. So wireframes is a representation of the final screen, right? It is just a black and white drawing of the layout where the buttons are placed, where the elements are taken, and what will be the flow from one particular screen to the other. So This one is really important because this basically gives a glimpse of the upcoming visual design of the application. So from all these black and white crude looking drawings, we create something known as visual design or click-through prototype. Basically, you can interact with the screen. You can click on the a graph there or probably on the buttons on top, and you will be able to see the next screens of the application. So visual designs and click-through prototypes. And we also create something known as visual style guide that basically shows the different types of colors that we use, the style of icons that we use, the spacing between various elements, the use of white space, all those guidelines or all those principles are basically captured in something known as a visual style guide. This will help the developer, the technology people to build the actual application. So this is how it is. So if you ask me, like, I mean, what are the tools that I use or a typical user experience designer use to design all these, right? Of course, you might be knowing about Photoshop, right? Most of the time, we use Adobe tools, Adobe Creative Cloud tools. Photoshop is one of the major tools that we use to design screens. Nowadays, there is a new application. It is known as Adobe XD. XD stands for Experience Design. So we create prototypes in that particular application. Illustrator is also another tool where we create icons and stuff like that. Dreamweaver for HTML coding. After Effects for editing video footages, create prototypes in videos and things like that. Animate is also used to create videos or animated videos of walkthroughs of a particular application or website. Probably you might have seen this movie, right? Ratatouille from Pixar or Disney. So what they are trying to say is like anyone can cook. So what is the take from this one, right? If you ask me, I will always say that anyone can design. A lot of students usually ask me, like, I mean, how can I become a designer? What are the qualities that I need to have to design something, right? So theoretically, if you ask me, these are some of the traits of a designer. The designer should have an inquisitive outlook. They should always ask questions. They should always question the status quo. They should always think, can I improve this particular service or a product? Then as we have seen, right, empathy of the end user is really important. They also should have a holistic view and eye for detail. These are all, these two things are the extreme things, two extreme of a particular view. Holistic view is nothing but 10,000 feet of the goal of a particular service or a design. And eye for detail basically stands for the small nitty-gritties, bells and whistles that will basically constitute the wow factor of a product or a service. Creative confidence, I will come on that a little bit later. And all of us should be problem solvers. I know that we are all facing a lot of problems in our day-to-day life, and we are actually trying to solve a lot of problems. But this problem solver simply means we are trying to solve the problems of the end user by thinking from their angle, by thinking from their shoes. And a good designer should always be a good listener. They should be a good learner, and they should be a good storyteller. So what is this creative confidence? For all the similar kinds of workshops that I do physically, right, I will always start by asking the question, like, I mean, can you draw a sun, right, in your notebook or using pen and paper, right? So most of the time people will draw a sun. It is very easy, right? And then I basically ask them to draw a car. And then I will ask them to draw a fast moving car. And finally, I will ask them to draw something that represents an idea. How can I represent an idea visually in a doodle, in a drawing, right? So most of the time typically people will come up with something like this. For sun, they will basically draw something like this, just a doodle of a sun, right? So if you really think about this, right? I mean, have you ever seen sun in our real life? It is very difficult, right? Because of the intense light, we won't be able to see the sun. Then how are you basically drawing sun like this? Because you are all influenced by the comics and other children's magazine that we usually read and grow up, right, when we were kids. So we are all influenced by that one. And drawing a car is very easy, right? I mean, it's just, if you are drawing something in 2D, it's always just two tires and then a body, that's it. So when I ask people to make this car appear like, I mean, moving away, right, or speeding car, they will just add some speed lights, that's it. Or probably an exhaust smoke or something like that. So this one simply represents that the car is moving. And an incandescent bulb, right? Although we have moved to the compact fluorescent lamp, CFLs, or even now it is all LEDs. Whenever I ask people to draw something that represents an idea, it is always a bulb. I don't know why, but that is how it is. So you know what you have done? You have basically drawn something that you have never seen in your life, that is sun. You have basically drawn an adjective, that is the speeding car, the adjective. And you have done, or you have drawn an abstract thing, that is the idea part. So that simply shows that you have the creative confidence with you. You can be a very good designer, right? One more point about creative confidence. There is a very interesting talk in TED. I actually need all of you to basically see that particular TED video later. So the title of the video is Life Lessons from an Adman. It is taken by Rory Sutherland. He's the head of O&M, the famous design agency. So in that one, he basically talks about a problem statement. So it was something like, there is a train that goes from London to Paris, the Eurostar train. And a problem was actually asked to some engineers. The problem statement was, how can you make the journey from London to Paris better? How can you improve the journey, right? That was the question. So the engineers came back with a very big plan of spending some £6 billion in redesigning the entire railway line, signaling system, as well as these railway stations and things like that, right? So Rory Sutherland, he is basically giving a different perspective. So according to him, what he's trying to say is like, I mean, rather than spending a lot of money on infrastructure, what they have to actually do is like, I mean, employ the world's top male and female supermodels, pay the money to walk the entire length of the train during the journey, basically handing out free wine or whatever it is. And in that particular case, most of the passengers will actually ask for the trains to slow down rather than cutting down the travel time between the two places. So this actually gives a different perspective of solving a problem, right? If we are having this kind of an out-of-the-box thinking, that will always help. So just go to the TED.com when you have time, search for Rory Sutherland or Life Lessons from an Adman, and try to see the video. That is quite hilarious. Okay, so what is the future job opportunity for a user experience designer? What you see on the screen, another graph, is basically taken from the Nielsen Norman group. The link is basically given on the bottom of the page. So if you look at the particular graph, right, I mean, this is a linear graph, or at least in the linear scale, and we are just near 2020. And they are predicting an exponential demand for user experience designers in the years to come. So the numbers projected are very high. So according to them, there are a lot of opportunities for user experience designers. So the main question that I always face from students and other people are like, I mean, how can I learn design, right? Formally, you can basically learn designs by writing an admission test known as CEED, C-E-E-D. So what you're seeing on the screen is a screenshot of this year's CEED website. CEED stands for Common Entrance Exam for Design. That is being, or every year it is being conducted by IIT Bombay. And you will be able to take a bachelor's or master's course, right? Master in Design course. There are a lot of disciplines available. It is, we have product design, we have interaction design, we have user experience design and things like that. So as you can see on the screen, these are some of the participating institutes. We have IISc Bangalore. I took my master's in design from IISc Bangalore in product design. We have IIT Bombay, Delhi, Guwahati, Hyderabad, Kanpur, and Jabalpur. And we also have other institutes who will always consider a seed score. A seed score is similar to gate score. Okay, so we have Srishti School of Design. We have UPA School of Design. So these are some of the reputed names out there. So if you are basically having a very good score in seed, you will be able to get into one of the programs. The other method is, of course, going to National Institute of Design, NID. So NID do have campuses across various places in India. The main campuses are in Ahmedabad and Bangalore. The research campus is in Bangalore. Masters in Design in Interaction Design is basically offered from Bangalore campus. So just go to the NID website or go to IIT Bombay website to know more about the opportunities. And we are coming to the conclusion of this particular session. So I would like to leave some of the resources for you. So just take a look at the screen. interactiondesign.org, right? So this is actually a very big name who basically gives a lot of certifications, online certifications for a nominal price for working professionals and students alike. Some of the companies do value the online certifications from interactiondesign.org. So that is a good place to start. And there is a very famous designer in UK. His name is David Airy. So davidairy.com. So he basically keeps a very good resource for students. So davidairy.com/resources. Then, of course, just like Apple, Google is also a very big name in design, right? For their Android operating systems, and they do have a lot of other products in the market as well. So just go to the website is design.google, and then there is a lot of resources available in the design.google webpage. Subtraction, right? Just like addition or division or multiplication, we have subtraction, right? So subtraction.com is a blog kept by Koi Win. He is an art director in Adobe. He designs a lot of Adobe tools like Photoshop and XD and things like that for designers. So his blogs are very good to read. Then I would like to talk about two podcasts, right? Where you'll be able to hear about the works done by other UX designers and their experiences, right? So the first one is Obsessed Show, Obsessed with Design, or Obsessed Show, obsessedshow.com. The second one is Design Details.fm. So that is the website for hearing the podcast. And Nielsen Norman Group is a very reputed team in user experience design, and they publish a lot of videos, online videos in YouTube. So this is the YouTube channel, youtube.com/user/NN group. So NN stands for Nielsen Norman. And here are a couple of books that I always refer. All these books are available in Amazon to buy, or if you want to read a digital version, that is also available. The first one is The Design of Everyday Things from Don Norman. That is a very good book to start with. The second one is Universal Principles of Design, that talks about some of the universal principles that designers always apply in solving a problem. The third one is known as Sprint, How to Solve Big Problems and Test New Ideas in Just 5 Days. This book is actually published by Google Ventures. So that is actually a pretty good book that basically talks about solving problems in 5 days. The fourth book is Creative Confidence. That is from the IDEO family. IDEO is a reputed name in design. It's a very good agency of design. They are into product designs and other user experience design as well. It is written by Tom Kelly. Creative Confidence. The last one is a very amusing read from Scott Adams. So Scott Adams is basically a cartoonist who draws the Dilbert strips. So all of you might have seen the Dilbert strips, right, from Scott Adams. So this book basically deals with how to fail in almost everything and then still win big. So that is a very interesting book. So take a look at all the resources and books. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me. You can find me in LinkedIn, ANASK, linkedin.com/in/ANASK, or I'm also available in Twitter and Medium, ANTZFX, ANTZFX. So it is always better to talk to prospective designers. It is always better to talk with the current generation of students. So if you have any questions, please reach out. Hello, any questions available?
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
We will go ahead and take some time for question now. Just a reminder, please be sure to type your question into the question box in your control panel. Sir, on the bottom of the screen, there is a Q&A option.
Okay, I can see a couple of questions here, so I will take a couple of things.
Okay.
Yeah, so one question from Adira, tell us about a project that you are most proud of. Okay, so unfortunately, I won't be able to name any customers or probably name a product, but I would like to basically talk about building a mobile application for a self-servicing portal for waste management. So that actually happened some years ago. Why I am most proud of that is only because we had a very big brainwave while doing that particular project. We implemented that one. Customer also liked it very much, but unfortunately, because of a lot of costs involved, they finally scrapped that one. Although the idea was pretty good, but then unfortunately they were not able to take it forward. So as I mentioned earlier, right, you remember the 3 lenses that I talked about, the viability part, the business part, that is where we fell flat. So the idea was nice, but unfortunately it didn't make any business sense for the customer. So that is the one thing that I'm really proud about. Okay, so I will take another question. So that is, what would you say is the next big trend in UX design, right? So I haven't even mentioned about that one. So as you probably might know, right? I mean, there are a lot of applications as well as devices that are coming into the market with voice interfaces, right? So the other day, I actually saw my nephew. He's using the voice search in YouTube to basically watch a couple of nursery rhymes. So he will just tap on that mic icon, right, in the search bar, and then he will just say "Baback Black Sheep," and immediately the search will trigger. So it is so easy for even small children to use that particular interface, right? Voice interfaces. So the next big trend right now is, of course, voice. A lot of devices are coming in the market, as well as if you look at some of the existing applications, you will see that there are a lot of chatbots and voice bots that will basically help users to interact with the brand, with the product. Where do you get the inspiration from? Who in the industry do you follow and read? So probably I might have partially answered that question a little bit earlier. the resources which I shared, right? I mean, those are actually from two of my favorite designers. So one is David Airy. He's very much into graphic design. But Koi Win is from Adobe, as I mentioned. His blog is subtraction.com. So please take a look at it. It's pretty cool to read them. And I basically get inspiration from, I actually have an application known as Flipboard. It's basically an RSS reader. So it's an aggregator of RSS feeds. So Flipboard is there. I have subscribed to a lot of publications in medium.com. I don't know how many of you know about that, medium.com. There are a lot of channels for user experience design and design in general. So I have subscribed to many of the channels like UX Planet and things like that. So that is how I do it. What is the scope of virtual reality gaming company, and how can we change the current user experience to VR? Already virtual reality is a very big thing. Was to create a virtual reality application in Oculus. Oculus is a headset, just like a mobile, right? Samsung Gear or whatever it is. It's a virtual reality headset. And they actually wanted us to create a virtual reality application for teaching their engineers on how to repair the engines. So we basically designed an interface. We will be having the 3D view of the engine. We will be having a explored view of various parts of the engine. And we also try to give a lot of practice sessions in that virtual reality application. So it is very easy rather than going and interacting with a physical engine, right? These engineers can basically wear the virtual reality headset, and then they will be able to experience. They will be able to understand which are the nuts and bolts to be removed first, how to disassemble a particular engine, and then probably look for the faults and all those kinds of stuff. So it will actually cut down the training period very much. So that is actually one example of the virtual reality application. So probably I might have answered that question. What is your process for working with other designers, developers, or product managers? So probably in the earlier user-centered design process, which I explained, right? So if you basically observe it, I mean, everything is basically shown as small iterative cycles. So there is a big thing. The elephant in the room is something known as the agile way of the feedback from them about what works and what does not work. So it is basically an ongoing process of talking with other stakeholders and then taking their feedback. Whether to implement those feedback or not is basically depends on the earlier three lenses which I talked about, right? Whether it makes a business sense, whether people will love it, or whether there will be an economic sense in doing that one. Yeah, so what are some of the biggest challenges you face as a UX designer? Yeah, so I think the main challenge which I personally see, right? I mean, most of the time people always want to get the final finished product in no time, right? So whenever we actually try to educate the customer, telling that, you know what, we actually need at least 3 weeks to talk to the end users to understand their pain areas, and some research has to be done, right? A research on the competitors, probably a research on some of the existing, let us say, other products, or probably a research on the actual end user what are their feelings, and all those kinds of stuff, right? The first phase, the discovery and define phase. So to convince, let us say, all these stakeholders the importance of user research, it is always challenging. I mean, sometimes people will get it, sometimes they don't. We always try to highlight the importance of user research, because only if we are trying to understand the end users, then only we will be able to deliver an amazing experience. So that is one of the biggest challenges. So I think that's it. I'm sorry for all the technology trouble at my end. Yeah, so it has happened in the past as well. I'm very much sorry about that. And thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, please reach out to me in LinkedIn or Twitter, right? ANSK in LinkedIn or ANSFX in Twitter. Thank you.
It looks like we have covered all of our questions. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot. On behalf of Universal Engineering College, I would like to express our profound gratitude to the presenter of our third day webinar series, ANSK. Thank you very much for making the webinar with our participants a really successful one. We greatly appreciate the presentation you gave to us, and it was nothing short of incredibly informative and interesting. Thank you, sir. And also I express our sincere gratitude to our principal, Dr. Joske Jacob. I am happy to express word of thanks to our staff members who have made this seminar a grand success. Once again, thank you everyone. We appreciate you being here. I would like to request you all to fill the feedback form that we have sent in your mail. It will be considered as your attendance sheet. Now, I would like to remind about tomorrow's webinar. We will have Mr. Andreas Hadjiano on the topic Asset Management Digital Transformation. Thanks again for joining us today, and we will see you next time. Stay safe, stay healthy. Bye. Take care.